So I've held a very unpopular opinion for a while that Drake is our generation's Tupac. And before you click off, hear me out. And while you're here, click the subscribe button, click the like button. I am convinced that people who find themselves in the entertainment industry, musicians, movie stars, etc., were the theater kids back in school. They were the eccentric personalities. They were the ones who believed that the world was their stage, and naturally they found themselves on stages, right? Whether through music or whether through acting. And Drake is a great example of that. But I think this is the same for most entertainers. Unfortunately, I think in our community, we have been convinced to take these individuals serious without really considering the fact that what they do, their job is theater. Their job is to embody a certain type of character and make that embodiment as convincing as possible. So why do I make the Drake and Tupac comparison? Tupac was born on the East Coast. He went to theater school. If you look at early interviews of Tupac, he was, by all indications, a sweetheart. But over time, he started playing the character of the thug. Moved to the West Coast, became affiliated with a certain lifestyle, and convinced us and has convinced the rest of the world that that's who he is and that's what he comes from. And even pioneered an East Coast, West Coast beef representing the West Coast, even though he was born and raised on the East Coast.
First off, your bitch in the clique you claim. West side, when we ride, come equipped with game. You claim to be a player, but I your wife. We bust on bad boys, niggas for life.
But unfortunately, like I said, our community in particular took it seriously. And I say sometimes that, when people live in scarcity, they escape to fantasy. For men, that tends to be video games in the modern day. For women, that tends to be novels, movies, etc. And unfortunately, a lot of our community is in scarcity. So music, movies, theater, and now with reality shows, theater that's indistinguishable from real life is our escape. And unfortunately, it's to the point now that it's not art imitating life, it's life imitating art. Now, in the case of Drake, obviously, child actor, teenage actor, not from that life, not about that life, but has realized that that portrayal is lucrative and has started making that type of music. Now, Drake is making drill music. Now, I don't say that necessarily to say that Drake lost the beef, which I think he did personally, right? Kendrick's accusing him of being phony, being essentially an opportunist who's wearing street culture as a costume. I think that was it, right? However, I think Kendrick in a way is guilty of that as well. Kendrick being a little bit more authentic than Drake because he comes from some of that, even though he was sheltered from it by his family. My big message here is we have to stop being so preoccupied with nonsense, and particularly theatrical.
I want problems, always.
So with rappers being students of the proverbial game, being students of the industry and understanding that, hey, the most attention that I'm going to get is during controversy, I wouldn't be surprised if they got to the point where they started cooking up controversy, right? Like we hear about even female rappers, for instance, like Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, whenever they do music that is outside of their character, music that's more conscious, more lyrical, etc., that doesn't sell. And we wonder why they continue to make degenerate music. But I think as consumers, we don't take enough responsibility for our demand and how that fuels the supply, right? And I think the same goes for rappers. Somebody like DaBaby, for instance, in my opinion, is only famous because he supposedly shot somebody at Walmart and he beat somebody up at the mall. Like, we like bullshit. And because of that, we're not celebrating quality, we're not celebrating skill, we're not celebrating attention to detail. And I think we're actually going to see more beefs. I know Chris Brown and Quavo is supposedly beefing at some point. But I think the reason we're going to see more beefs because, number one, as you guys can see, like, the shit is lucrative. I think 2 of Kendrick's responses are number 1 on the Billboard charts, and then Drake's are, like, right behind it. But the other thing, too, is, like, I think hip-hop is becoming a lost and a dying art. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, and he said that, you know, Afro beats is on its way up, K-pop is on its way up, and hip-hop is trying to hold on and hang on. And unfortunately, one of the ways that it's doing that is by instigating or sustaining the competitive aspect of that genre of music, which, you know, we've always known is unsustainable. I think it's unfortunate that we have such a bloodlust as a consumer base that we champion this gladiatorial aspect of hip hop. And, you know, even people were talking shit about J. Cole for, you know, bowing out, but it's like, maybe he saw the bigger picture. Maybe he saw the bigger picture of like, yo, this shit is not worth it, and this is not what I want this art form to be celebrated for, or what I want myself to be celebrated for. But again, demand dictates supply, you know. So I think that's what we need to start thinking about: the real world consequences of our bloodlust, the real world consequences of our demand. Like, we talk about women being the ones propping up a lot of these female rappers, but statistically speaking, it's actually men, and we're not willing to have that conversation. You know, even people like Sexy Red, she said, you know, she was looking at her analytics and she mispronounced analytics. And a lot of her fan base is men, probably fatherless men, but men nonetheless. And on this side, on the male side, a lot of times we fuel beef and we fuel, you know, battle raps and all that kind of stuff, which is like, if you understand the art, it's cool, but like on the surface, we can no longer sustain our culture, our community based on negativity. And we should be able to see the direct link of where that comes from. But like a lot of the things we celebrate, like joning and things like that, a lot of things we celebrate in our culture are counterproductive. And we brand it as character building, or we brand it as this is a way we have maintained our resilience. But like, at what point do we move past resilience? And we start thinking of like, okay, what are the consequences of generations after us if we continue to normalize joking about how people look? If we continue to normalize, oh, you got haters, your haters are your motivators, all that negative glass half empty thinking that we've normalized. Now you got kids in middle school and high school, and they're looking at the world as if it's this place full of people who are out to get them. And in some ways, I think it's a productive paradigm, but as a community in particular, we have to stop championing this stuff. So, you know, I think this is bigger than Kendrick versus J. Cole. I think number one, we need to do a better job gatekeeping our culture, right? I think number two, we need to do a better job defining our culture by productive things, as opposed to being black enough means being gangster, or it means being thug, or it means using improper grammar. Being black means being excellent. It means being attentive, being strategic. And then lastly, we got to stop feeding the shit that we claim we don't care about, or the shit that we claim that's bad for us. And we talk about women doing it a lot with these female rappers and stuff like that, but we do it too. Men, we do it too.
All right. The mental health of hip-hop is in such a state of cognitive dissonance having to be practiced on a daily basis, meaning we are actively creating and consuming content that deep down we know this is not healthy for us. This is not what we need to be putting out there into the world, but because it's so catchy and because it has a dope beat underneath it, we continue to push it out there. You got managers who are taking advantage of their artists. They know their artist is on a fast track to hell. They know their artist is on a fast track to jail or to the graveyard, but they want that commission off of their artist.
So those are my 2 cents. Comment below, subscribe, like, Don't like it, I don't know. Y'all be good. Hey, if you've made it all the way to the end, please click that like and subscribe button. Also share this with somebody that you think would gain value from it. Click the thumbnail at the top if you want the full video. Click the thumbnail at the bottom if you want a video that's closely related to this. Again, like, share, subscribe. Appreciate you guys for watching. Check out some more of our content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.